Welcome to Crossbody of Work. My name is Evan.
I am Javier.
We are back to talk about dem boys. We are
Damn
here
boys.
this week to talk about the Briscoes. But first, Drake or Kendrick?
Kendrick. I mean,
By a
sorry.
mile.
In the feud, Kendrick. In also as artists, also Kendrick. But that's just a me personal thing. Like I would never be like, oh, you like Drake? Weirdo.
I'm not going to hold it against you, but Kendrick in the feud and Kendrick in real life. So I think that is fair. Because that's all that the world has been talking about. That's literally every reel I've seen. We made a reel about it. Like every reel has been about Kendrick and Drake's beef. So we had to talk about it first. But of course, on this podcast, we talk about a wrestler through 5 of the most important matches. And this week, we talk about the Briscoes, Jay and Mark, specifically their tag work. We are not looking at their work as singles competitors. Every match we have this week is them teaming 2-on-2 against another team.
Yes, and it was really good. Every match here was super long and really good. And it's going to be almost impossible for me to pick which one was my favorite or which one I think I recommend to people most, because
it all depends on what you're interested in.
I have a favorite. It's obvious what you're gonna say is my favorite. But also, like, I love them all.
Is it the second one?
It is the second one.
Okay, that's what I thought too. Great match. I really enjoy it.
But I don't think it's going to be my pick this week, which is crazy because it's one of my favorite tag matches ever. I love that match.
For those of you who are watching on YouTube, hello, good to see you. For those of you who are listening, wherever you're listening, hey, we're happy to be in your ear holes, in your car, in your earbuds, whatever you're doing right now. Yeah, ear holes. I said it. You should, wherever you are, listening to the podcast, you should subscribe, whether that's on YouTube or on whatever podcast platform you use. Hit subscribe. It helps us out tremendously. If you could leave a little 5-star review, we would love that as well. If you're on YouTube, just a little thumbs up. You can even do it Orange Cassidy style. We'd appreciate it. Tell us on social media who we should do next at Crossbody Work on Twitter and Instagram, or in the comments under this video. All right. If you had to describe the Briscoes to somebody who'd never heard about the Briscoes before, what would you say?
Two brothers who just be doing shit.
They just be doing violent things.
Like, I can't even describe to you their style because they're a little bit of everything.
They are. Like, they're kung fu.
They're kung fu. They're hard hitting. They are high flying. They are
technically sound in certain areas.
Yeah, they're technically sound. They're ground and pound. They're like brutal, but they're also finesse. Like, I genuinely, I mean, I'm gonna give my praise at the end of the episode after we cover all the matches as I do every week. But like, genuinely, I think that the Briscoes, top to bottom, are the most overall talented tag team in the history of pro wrestling. For the simple fact, they could do it all.
It is impressive to see people the same people do a variety of different styles and things exceptionally well. Normally you're like, oh, this team's good at this. They're good at the tag psychology, or they're good at the this, and they're good at the in-ring, or they're good at the ground and pound. And they just do so many different things so well. And I'm excited to talk about it. All right. So the actual real life Briscoe brothers, they are real life brothers because that works. That's really helpful. Mark and Jay, those are their real names, but they're not the Briscoes. They're the Pews.
Yes, they are the Pews. They are from Delaware.
They are from Delaware.
Forget what the town in Delaware is called. They're from Delaware.
They're from Laurel, Delaware.
Yeah, that's the one.
Laurel,
Delaware. They live on they have a chicken farm.
Yeah, that's the one in Sandy Fork. We will see it in the promo this week.
Yes, and they just were good old country boys who decided to get into some wrestling.
So they were featured in the first ever Ring of Honor event in February of 2002. And aside from an 18-month hiatus, were focal points of the company for its entire existence, which is incredible. Up until
it technically folded, and then Tony Khan bought it again.
Yes. So yeah, they grew up in Laurel, Delaware. As high schoolers, they were both all-state honors in football. Jay as a fullback and a linebacker, and Mark as a tight end and a linebacker. At one point, they were both signed to play for Wesley College in Delaware, and neither of them wrestled in high school, which is interesting because I believe their father coached wrestling.
That's probably why they didn't do it.
Like, I don't want to do that. Dad is my coach. Absolutely not. Apparently, WWF came on one of their 2 channels that they had on their TV at home, and so they became obsessed with that. And they practiced wrestling moves on the trampoline, of course, before building a wrestling ring in their backyard.
This is so like stereotypical.
Yeah,
late
the
90s,
story, the story.
late 90s into the 2000s, like wrestler brothers who just want to, or brothers slash close friends slash whatever, who just love wrestling so much they decided, yeah, I'm just gonna do this. Like, this is
Exactly.
all of those people. It's the Briscoes, it's the Hardys, it's Edge and Christian, it's Punk, it's Chris Hero. Like, all
Yeah.
these guys were just like this.
They made their debuts for Combat Zone Wrestling at Delaware Invasion in 2001, January 20, 2001. They were part of a job to in a 3-on-1 handicap match against Trent Acid. CZW started to go into New Jersey and into Philadelphia in order to hold events at the old ECW arena. There was an event that they had against where they faced Nick Gage and Nate Hatred, but they had to wear masks because Jay was only 17 and Mark was only 16. And while everything is legal in New Jersey, according to the Hamilton musical, it is not legal to be underage and wrestling in the state of Pennsylvania. So you go across the Delaware River, you got to wear a mask.
But also, is it like, are they getting carded in the ring? Like, is the ref gonna ask them for their ID?
No, but that's the thing is, if you see it and they're like, "That's Jay and Mark Briscoe," they're children. Like they can kind of put that together. We're under the mask. Who knows who those children are?
Hey, whoa! Why'd you assume they're children?
Because they were 16 and 17 at
Yeah,
the
no,
time.
but they have a mask on, so why would you
It's true.
assume that?
How would I know? Jay wrestled on ROH's first ever show. The Era of Honor begins, losing to Amazing Red in a singles match. Mark seconded him to the ring, but could not wrestle still because of the labor laws. The first match that we do see for them boys is from 2004. So they've already been established. They've been in ROH at this point for
They're the tag team champions.
They are the tag team champions at this point. Yes. And they are facing the put together tag team of Samoa Joe and Bryan Danielson at ROH Battle Lines Are Drawn 2004. This is part of a series where Samoa Joe was recruiting new teammates to try to beat the Briscoes, but failing each time. But every time that Jay Briscoe would face Samoa Joe for the world title, he would fail in singles competition, proving that Joe was the better singles wrestler and the Briscoes the better team.
And I'm pretty sure at one point they had a triple threat with Mark in there as well.
I believe they did.
And Joe, I mean, for those who don't know, Joe, I believe, is still to this day the longest reigning Ring of Honor world champion of all time.
Yeah, he held on to those for a while. The Briscoe brothers are in their first run as World Tag Team Champions at this time in ROH. This is during their first reign. They won them off of a tag team called Special K. Never heard of it. Love the cereal. Izzy and Dixie.
Izzy and Dixie K. Nice.
Izzy and Dixie K. What'd you think of the match?
This was a hell of a match. It is kind of insane to see how advanced they are as wrestlers
for being this close into, like, they're not advanced yet. Like, they're
what
not.
Are they 21 and 20 at this point? Probably somewhere in that range.
No, they're 20 and 19.
They're 20 and 19. Jesus Christ! And like, listen, you look at guys like, you know, Nick Wayne and you know, the people come from Mexico and like how good, you know, the guys who came over from England, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate and all them, and how good they were so young. And, you know, you're like, okay, sure, that tracks. They've also kind of really been wrestling since they were like 12.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing. Like, you look at Brock Lesnar, who's obviously an anomaly for all this stuff, but like, he was a freaking Olympic, like he was a borderline Olympic.
Yeah. I'm not convinced he's not a shaved gorilla, but that's fine.
Randy Orton is a third generation wrestler. These two guys were on a chicken farm in Delaware just watching WWF and just messing around on their trampoline while playing football, and decided, yeah, we're just going to end up being the best tag team in the world for 20 years.
I think they are a very good example of when natural athleticism meets passion. Like, there are lots of natural athletes in the world, but if you have the passion and drive to get better at your craft, this is what you'll turn out like the Briscoes. Also, I'm going to put this out there. all the matches, like Javier said, are very long this week. And normally when the
Yes.
matches are shorter, we can do the kind of like beat by beat breakdown. Here we're going to talk more about the broad strokes of the matches
Can't.
because there's too much stuff.
And I'm watching it all on 2x speed because I find now that when I watch wrestling, because of this podcast, it's completely ruined the way I watch wrestling. Aside from live, like
I can
live,
watch it
it's whatever.
live. Yeah.
Yeah, live, it's whatever. But like, if I'm watching wrestling like on a playback, like if I go look up highlights for Raw
Yeah.
or a specific match, or like a quick rundown, like let's say I miss him, like I did this with Danielson, Osprey. Like I didn't watch it live.
Yeah.
So I went back and tried to watch it, and I found it on Twitter. And I can't change the playback speed, I don't think, on Twitter.
No.
Actually, it can on my phone. But I didn't think to do that at the time, and I was like, damn, this is going real slow.
Here's the thing is, if I'm watching one match for like we do for this, like one match at a time from different shows, I will speed it up. If I'm watching a show through, I have no problem just sitting watching the show. Because it's just like, I'm like, oh, like I'm here for the whole experience. I'm here for the whole thing.
I mean, I don't fast forward the promos. Like, those stay the same speed, obviously, and all that stuff. But, like, now it's gotten to the point where I'm like, I think the last match wasn't, I couldn't make it go quicker. I had to, like, skip around if I wanted to make it go quicker. And I was like, these people are, like, in quicksand right now.
These people are so slow.
So, yeah, watching this in 2x speed was a trip. Because it is fun.
I want to talk about this era Samoa Joe, which I think is my favorite presentation of Samoa Joe. Just the short style trunks and the puka shell necklace and the just absolute I do not fucking care attitude, which he has maintained his entire existence. But
I love it. Yeah, he's always had the trunks up to the nipples. He just has at some point switched the trunks that he wears.
I had a teacher in grade 7. She wasn't my teacher, but she was like a teacher in the school. And I swear to Christ, she had her pants up to like easily like her rib cage, and she was an older woman, so like her tits were 100% touching her pockets. Like it was unbelievable. Like we were all like we were in the middle school, and we're looking like that's not how people are supposed to be dressed. That's not how people are supposed to wear that outfit.
She's out here looking like Urkel, but she's like 70 years old.
Yeah. She could breastfeed by unzipping her pants. Which is not a good thing, I think. And Samoa Joe like also kind of embodies that. And I like that about him.
And still to this day, it's pretty much all he's changed is his trunks. He's now got the UFC, like the John Jones trunks that he wears, where it's like the baggy like outer part that's not really connected with the like skin tight bit underneath it.
Yeah.
And it's cool. I like it.
Do you know who the manager is of the Briscoes at this point?
I did not even see him.
Oh, because he's not out there with him, but their manager, the person they kind of work for right now, is Jim Cornette. Yeah, apparently there was a little thing at the beginning of their run here.
That makes sense, though. I mean, they're a teenager. Like Mark is literally a teenager. Jay is 20. Like they're not gonna be naturally gifted promos. They're two farm guys.
And if you know the Briscoes from the last from the last 10 years, we'll say, like early era Briscoes is interesting because they are in like singlets. Like they're in just like wrestling gear.
The best way I could describe it is honestly, they look like Kevin Steen. It's the same gear that Kevin Steen
very
has.
similar gear. Also, they both have short hair, so they're not bald or dreads.
They've got the Dwayne Wade, the like late 2000 or the mid to late 2000s Dwayne Wade, where it's like just shaved down.
Just shaved it down. Were there any spots in particular in this match that you were like, "Ooh, that's noteworthy"?
Danielson at one point like wraps Jay by like his arm, and then he grabs the same leg, and he's got it wrenched all the way back, and then like somehow super smoothly transitions that into a bow and arrow. I was like, oh, this guy, 20 freaking years, and he's still the best technical wrestler in the world.
Yep. You know what the Briscoes are better at this point than any tag team that I have seen? The use and speed of blind tags.
Oh my God, yeah.
even here, they have clearly not been doing it for that long. Their speed with which they can get off blind tags and then turn that into instant offense, like
Yep.
that's how they get all their momentum swings in these early matches. It's not usually somebody missing a move or a reversal. It's one guy will just do a quick blind tag, come in, drop toe hold, and all of a sudden he's in a headlock. Like it's a lot of that work.
Another thing I love is that these guys are young. Like they're
Yeah.
20, they're 19. They're the tag champions, but they still have so much to prove. And I love that as you get more and more into these matches, they are not only like taking like the because it's Ring of Honor, they're stiff moves. They're
Yeah.
not only just taking that, but they're giving it right back to him. Like at one point, Jay is like like hitting forearm shots on Bryan, and he's no selling it.
Yeah.
And then Jay just lays one in there that knocks Bryan right on his ass.
That Bryan can no longer no sell because it makes him fall over. Big spot I liked from Mark is right before that. He hits a really nice spine buster and does the automatic transition into the Boston Crab.
Love it.
And it was vicious. Like Mark has a vicious spine buster.
Yeah, I don't remember at what point it was where I think Mark like hurt his knee somewhere in the I want to say like mid 2000s. And not that it took away from his like high flying ability and stuff like that, because he still very much has it. Still to this day, even after like he hurt his knee a few months ago.
It probably got, did he get his knee injury when he had his motorcycle accident? That was in mid 2000, like 2004, 2005.
No, that was way too long ago. No,
Okay.
but like he just had, I'm telling you, it was like somewhere in the mid 2010s, I think. But he it's not that he lost his athleticism, because he still very much has it. He kind of, Mark was so fucking explosive. Like he, in basketball or football, you would say it's like a crazy first step.
Yeah.
Like he had that sort of like just go, and like it was just like, in my opinion, Jay was always the better wrestler. Like he just always was. He was the better overall performer. That's, I mean, it makes sense. He's what, 2-3-time Ring of Honor world champion.
2-time.
Yeah. Like he absolutely deserved it. Not that Mark didn't, but Jay was just like, you could build a company around Jay Briscoe as a single star, truly. But Mark just had this gear to him that Jay could not reach.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it was just, it's that this level of explosion where he would do things like that, where he would just freaking be vicious on a spine buster, transition that right into a Boston Crab. It would be like, you see it throughout all these matches. He hits a shooting star press. He hits a crazy move off the top rope. Like just these little feats of explosion and athleticism that, not that Jay didn't have in his bag, but he didn't have it as smoothly as Mark did.
Yeah, and not as, yeah, the explosiveness is crazy. The finish of the match, Danielson's in the ring, has Jay. He does a top rope suplex for a 2, hits some uppercuts. Jay then connects with a big boot, hits the Jay Driller, a move that I love. That is a tremendous finish.
It's a fantastic finisher.
He puts so much oomph on it. The way that he drops them down, and it's one thing to have a good move. It's another thing to hit it with like fucking pizzazz every single time.
It's because he lets go.
Yeah, that's exactly
gravity. He lets gravity take hold of it. I don't know how that move is safe. I
have been looking at it obviously for 5 matches. I think he hits it in 4 of the 5 matches, and every time I'm like, that looks like it sucks.
My thing is, what I think happens, because he's not dropping them for the most part, he doesn't drop them directly on their head. I think what happens is that right when he lets go, he like closes his legs in a little bit, so that they kind of land on his leg,
like on his thighs.
Like rather than the full mat. If not that, he like
I have no idea.
just uses his legs maybe to like shield the fact that he rotates them and they land on the freaking crown of their neck rather than their heads. I don't know, but it's just one of those moves that no matter who does it, no matter what the situation is, it looks freaking amazing every single time.
It's true. So they win. They retain the titles. They would lose this set of titles to the Second City Saints, CM Punk and Colt Cabana, back when they were friends, April 24th, 2004. The Briscoes would win the titles one more time in 2004 before going on a hiatus. So Beginning in August of '04, I mentioned earlier, they go on an 18-month hiatus. Mark was injured in a motorcycle accident between a show called Test and Limit and Scramble Cage Melee, and then they left Ring of Honor because Jay didn't want to wrestle without Mark, and so they stopped taking bookings entirely.
Yep.
They came back mid 2005 to a company called Pro Wrestling Unplugged, and then late 2005 to Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor, they returned to ROH, had some unsuccessful attempts to try to get the belts off of Austin Aries and Roddy Strong, but then finally got back to the titles after defeating Christopher Daniels and Matt Sydal to win the tag titles. Their reign, however, will be brief, as because they dropped it to Naruki Doi and Shingo Takagi in their first defense. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. They faced off in a one-time only battle against each other at one point.
Oh,
yeah. Fifth year festival finale. Considered putting that on the list of matches because I was like, oh, like it's technically both Briscoes. We're focused on the tag stuff. Match ended in a draw with both of them unable to answer the 10 count. Then we go back to them being the tag team champions. They would win the belts a couple more times and defend them at Death Before Dishonor 5, August 2007, in a ladder war against Kevin Steen and El Generico. This is your favorite match.
This was my favorite match of the bunch. Yes, I love this match.
How can you not?
If you've listened to this podcast for any extended period of time, you know I'm a fucking mark for Steen and Generico.
Yes.
Like whether it's against each other as a tag team, whatever it is, like I love those guys. They're the reason I was into Ring of Honor in the first place. Like it's just what it is. Those are my guys. They will always be my guys. And not that I don't love Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. It's just honestly what it really is they're just older now.
Yeah.
Like,
El Generico obviously is I'm gonna break the kayfabe for those who don't know. It's Sami Zayn in a mask.
No, it's not. It's not actually.
There you go.
No.
I have one note.
Retired. Remember, you didn't see
he
Kenny
went to the
Omega
orphanage. Yes,
on the podcast on this live the other day. Say, you know, I heard he went to the orphanage. I haven't actually heard from him since. He might actually just kind of be dead.
I have a note here I need to start with, and then we'll talk about the spots we liked. Kevin Steen wrestles like the annoying kid who doesn't let anyone tag him at recess. Who's like, no, you didn't get me, or no, I was safe. He's a fucking petulant child as Kevin Steen, and it shows in his wrestling, and I kind of love it.
I want so badly to get Kevin Steen in like not for him to change his name, but to get that version of Kevin Steen as Kevin Owens. Because I don't think when he turned heel and when he had his good heel runs in WWE, which he did, he had two
very good heel runs, yeah.
In NXT and then also on the main roster on two separate occasions. Like he was heel, turned babyface, turned heel again, and it was great. But the thing is, there was just a level of like being a bitch that he didn't have because he was the prize fighter. He was like, oh yes,
the closest thing to being a full bitch was the Face of America United States Championship run,
which was
not the move for a guy from Quebec. Was not the move, but he was a bitch during that.
Yeah. I want that guy back. I want him low blowing people. I want him freaking being a petulant child again.
I want you to talk about the spots you like most in this match because there's so many to pick from. I kind of want to go back and forth with just crazy spots that happen.
But first off, my favorite thing was the Briscoes immediately throwing a ladder into the ring during their entrance and going right on the assault. And then the first like 5 minutes of this match, they're just paired off out in the crowd, just going crazy. Yeah. Mark is bleeding in like 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
My favorite spot of this entire match, so Steen is on the guardrail.
Yeah.
And he's like about to hit a move on Jay. And Mark goes flying. Like he goes flying. He jumps onto the guardrail, grabs Steen, and just hits a fucking ace cutter.
Yeah, it was nice.
Crusher, whatever. It's a cutter. It's a cutter.
It is a cutter. They call it the ace crusher. It's a dumb name. Hey, there's a Death Valley driver onto the edge of the ladder by Steen to Jay. Not the flat part, but like, you know, if the ladder's like this, this part. And that's not good. That's not good. There's no way for that spot to be fun at all.
There's no way for that spot to not hurt in the worst way imaginable.
Yeah. Then there's also a shooting star press onto the ladder on Generico by Mark. which
Yeah.
is such a smooth shooting star press.
So I'm telling you, Mark
It's
had
crazy.
this like crazy explosion, but he also was so fluid. It's just insane.
Yeah. All right,
And
give
then
me another spot you like.
the Briscoes do like a double like hip toss, like launch
Mm-hmm.
on Generico right into a ladder in the corner. Um, Steen at one point is like hitting Mark with like punches and forearms. And Mark is just like, come on, like he's doing a fire up spot. And then Steen just low blows him, just
Yeah.
kicks him right in the dick.
I know this is the case. I know it's the case every time we talk about an El Generico match. The level at which Sami Zayn can sell with his body, and all of his body motions, like he's able to tell a story with just his movements in the ring so well, and that
Yeah.
has given him so much more power. That he adds his facial expressions, which are good as Sami
Yes.
Zayn, but he
I don't know what you're
retains.
talking about. Those are two different people.
You're right. He learned from El Generico, and he
Yeah.
retains all that knowledge that he learned from El Generico, and he's so good at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's my take on this, and I'm obviously incredibly biased because they are one of my favorite wrestlers ever.
Yeah.
But I think that El Generico and Sami Zayn, who was inspired by him, is legitimately one of the not one of. I think he's the greatest seller in the history of pro wrestling. Like the
Wow.
way that he, we always talk about Brett and Sean
I
and
was gonna say
these guys,
Sean. Sean's my
Brett
default
and
answer.
Sean, who like do this and stuff, but there's just like a level of contortion and like facial selling and like there's just this the thing I love most that he did mostly when he was Generico because he was being ragdolled. Like he just has this ability of like when he's getting thrown or when he's doing whatever, he'll like make his body go stiff, but like
Mm-hmm.
in an unnatural way. And you're just like, oh, this guy's about to fucking die.
Yeah, that's not how bodies are supposed to go.
um,
Speaking of things bodies aren't supposed to do, let's talk about the Doomsday device. So the Briscoes do the
yeah,
Doomsday device as one of their finishes. That happens through a ladder. It doesn't put someone through a ladder, but the
yeah.
literal jump is between the ladder's entrances. That's
Fucking
fantastic.
Mark Briscoe could not have hit that any more
No, it
perfect.
was so clean.
My favorite thing. So there was a Yakuza kick through the ladder.
Yeah.
Like, Generico does the kick through. Like, there's a ladder set up on. I think it was Jay, and he just goes right through the ladder with his leg. Somehow, absolutely timed it perfectly. And then Steen decides to yeet Mark Briscoe out of the ring.
Yep. With a
Just
power
fucking
bomb.
yeets him.
Yeah.
Absolutely sends him flying. I was like, how is he alive? He didn't go through a table. He didn't do it. He just died.
Jay gets a big red ladder. That's what they hit the
Well, he didn't get it. The fans got it
the
for
fans got it
him.
for him and brought it to him. And that's what we hit the Doomsday device through. This leads to two ladder bridge spots being set up. One of them, Steen hits a package pile driver through the ladder on Mark, I believe.
Yeah,
And then Jay hits a J driller to Generico through the other ladder bridge, which
which took a
was
lot to set up.
took a lot of setup, but it was really cool. The finish, Steen's climbing, Jay meets him on the ladder. They're swinging right hands at each other. Jay knocks Steen off and gets the titles loose, but not down. Like, I think he fucked it. I think it was supposed to grab them right away. Steen comes back up to give him something else to do. Jay hits him one more time, gets a belt down. They win the
Yeah.
titles. Do you know who attacks the Briscoes right after this match?
Oh, did they show it?
They don't show it.
Okay, I don't then.
It's the Age of the Fall.
Oh, that's this match?
That's this match, I believe.
Oh my god, yes. Of course I know that. That's one of the most iconic moments in the history of Ring of Honor.
Jimmy Jacobs and Tyler Black attack afterwards. Tyler Black,
Yep.
of course, you know as Seth Rollins. If you don't
Yep.
know him as Tyler Black, which you might, they attack them and hang Jay upside down from the apparatus which held the belts.
Yeah, and it's brutal for the simple fact that so he's upside down, he's bleeding because he got busted open during this match, and then he's just dripping blood down. And Jimmy Jacobs is in a white suit, and he just has the blood pouring down onto him, and he's like letting it run into his mouth and stuff like that. It's legitimately it's like jarring. Like the first time I ever saw it, I was like, "What the hell is going
That
on
sounds
here?"
no bueno. I don't like it. We take a commercial
Oh,
break because I need to recover from that image. When we get back, we have the Briscoes versus the Motor City Machine Guns. Back from the break, ROH Return Engagement 2008. It's the Briscoes versus the Motor City Machine Guns in a rematch of a match that was really well received. Hey, I could do without the Confederate flag gear from Dem Boys, but that's fine. This is a non-title match. The Briscoes are champs, but it is not for the titles. They had only won them a week before. They won them off of the No Remorse Corps, Rocky Romero and Davey Richards.
This match, Evan, is my recommendation for the week.
Really? This match is excellent technical ability from Dem Boys, as well as, of course, Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, as we know.
I think this match shows off everything you need to see from the Briscoes without like the gore and the like hardcore and all this other stuff. Like I think it's what makes it my pick, honestly, is you see everything from the Briscoes, but you also get to see everything from Mark and Jay individually.
Yep.
Like you get to see them both emphasized and highlighted, and their abilities are displayed just individually as well. Like you get to see what Jay is really good at. You get to see what Mark's really good at. Also, this is as like smooth and crisp as I've ever seen Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin.
I have a note in here. It's about midway down, partway through the match. It's after the double shoulder tag over the Briscoes and some stereo kicks from Motor City Machine Guns. And all the note says is, my God, both these teams are so smooth. Just the rhythm is so good. And you can tell, like, God, it's always good when two guys have chemistry, right? When two guys can fight, and it's amazing. When four guys have perfect chemistry.
Oh, my God.
Oh, it's good stuff.
And you know it from when we did the Motor City Machine Gun episode. Like, I hold them in the highest regard. They're my favorite tag team of all time. I genuinely think they're one of the 2-3 greatest tag teams in the history of pro wrestling, period. Like, them before Chris Sabin's knee injury was like as high. It's the highest peak a tag team has ever gotten as far as in-ring action. Truly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It is unreal. And this was in 2008, right?
Yeah.
So this is like peak MCMG. It's insane. Again,
we're not going to do this match justice in terms of what the in-ring stuff looks like, but the chain wrestling is outstanding.
The combinations from the guns is just ridiculous.
Let's talk about the things the Briscoes do particularly well. Jay is by default the most powerful guy in the match. Like he's the power guy, so he does hit a lot of power moves. His spine buster is outstanding. He's got some big suplexes that he does in there. He kind of fills the role of like, I have to ground and pound a little more than everybody else in this match, but he does it really well, and of course with some technical prowess.
Oh my God, so much technical prowess, because he's like, they're doing so the Guns' whole thing here is that they're doing these incredible combination moves. Like at one point they super kick, I think it's Mark onto, like, Sabin's holding him kind of in like the, what's it called, like the monkey flip position.
They're into the catapult,
the catapult position, and he like super kicks him back, and so Sabin lays down, and he's just got Mark drenched, laid down on his knees, and then Shelley comes over and hits like a top rope leg drop or something like that. Like, you know, just little things like that where they're just constantly moving and constantly piecing together moves together. And I'm like, how do you even remember this? Like, it genuinely got to the point where I was like, how, like, you can't call this stuff on the fly and have this perfect timing. So it had to have been like, you know, not preordained, but like pre-planned or like whatever. Like this, maybe you knew the spots in advance, but also like, how do you remember at what point? Like, this is just like insane. It's a level of pro wrestling that I don't understand.
Like I can comprehend putting a match together on the fly. Like I can see if it's two people communicating, 4 people communicating. And the thing is, tag team partners, when they're that good, don't fucking communicate. They just do the thing.
They're both like that.
It's fucking Jokic and Murray, baby. You know exactly how to run the pick and roll and the pick and pop because you just do it.
It's the opposite of Tatum and Brown.
Sorry, Boston. There are some other good spots I want to talk about in here. One of which is Mark breaking up a bridging pin with an exploder suplex of Shelley onto Sabin. A mean suplex.
Nasty. So I'm shocked no one's knee was like busted during this match.
Mark with a suicide tope, Jay with a clothesline, hits a J driller to Sabin, kicks out, We get the springboard version of the Doomsday Device because they'll do both the top rope one
Yeah.
and the springboard one.
It's
I feel like
mostly the springboard
they
one
go
that
with the
ends
springboard a
matches.
lot more. Then Mark with a suplex top rope and misses the shooting star press because Sabin rolls away. That leads to the finish. Shelly in, sliced bread number 2, a terrible name, a wonderful move. Hits it for a 2 count, and then Sabin hits a top rope German superplex. Mark
He yeets Jay, by the way.
he
Absolutely
he gone.
launches Jay out.
Mark gets hit with a super sliced bread, and the Motor City Machine Guns
Slice
would
bread number
win.
2. Number 2 is the important part.
Number 2. They would not be the ones to take the titles off of the Briscoes.
Ooh, I might be able to guess this. Where are we? 2008?
You shouldn't guess it. They vacated the titles.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
They held them. They held those for 13 times.
Mark got injured, and then the next champions are. Do you want to guess who the next champions were?
Is Roderick Strong one of the members?
No.
Addiction?
No, it's Age of the Fall.
Ugh.
Yeah. So they would just kind of get them back after losing them. I think like they'd only not had them for 6 months. So
yeah, so they dropped the titles. They were not dropped. They get the titles back from Age of the Fall, and then Tyler Black just decides, yeah, I'm gonna go win the Ring of Honor World Championship.
It's true. Our next match doesn't happen for the Briscoes until 2018. So we're gonna instead talk about what happens in the interim. November 24th, 2009, the Briscoes had a tryout for WWE at the SmackDown and ECW tapings. The following month, they were invited to a tryout in FCW. And as real, they were eventually turned down as WWE thought they were, quote, not cosmetically pleasing, end quote, to suit WWE's programming. Any future tryouts for the WWE for the brothers were nixed after a series of anti-LGBTQ tweets from Jay in 2011-2013. We're going to talk about that in a second. Consistently in the tag title picture from 2008 to 2012. They defeated Scum, Jimmy Jacobs, and Steve Corino at Final Battle 2012, yes, and Caprice Coleman and Cedric Alexander in a 3-way match for the ROH titles for the 8th time. They'd lose them to Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. At April 5th, 2013, Supercard of Honor 7, Jay Briscoe would defeat Kevin Steen to become the ROH World Champion for the first time. He defended the title against his brother Mark at Best in the World 2013. He defended against Matt Hardy. But then that weekend, they shot angles with both Briscoe brothers that involved injuries, and it was reported that Jay Briscoe's contract with ROH had expired and not be renewed, and he got stripped of the world title. He returned at Death Before Dishonor 11 to have a huge feud against Adam Cole. Jay Briscoe, Adam Cole was a very big feud. Were you watching Ring of Honor at this time? 2013?
2013? No, I was just entering my hiatus.
Oh, yes, of course. So Jay would fail to get the title from Adam Cole a couple of different times, but then he would defeat Michael Elgin September 6, 2014 to win the ROH World Championship, becoming only the second 2-time ROH World Champion. And he would lose the belt to, I had it and then I lost it. He would lose the belt to Jay Lethal. Yes.
Yeah.
Now.
And then it was Lethal's super long run.
It was. Now let's talk about those terrible tweets. We're not going to rehash what it say because I don't want to say those things. They're really bad. But yeah. Jay Briscoe made some very bad, terrible, unforgivable tweets about the LGBT community in 2011 and 2013. Later that month, he apologized for the comments on ROH's website and again to House Show, explaining the comments were meant to reflect the worldview of, quote, the redneck character he plays on TV, end quote, and not his real views. He agreed to donate his full salary from the next 2 shows for Partners Against Hate charity, and this kind of cloud goes over Jay for a long time. However, from what I've gathered from what you can read online, there seem to be genuine, like, reprimands and genuine, like, changes in Jay Briscoe. Ian Riccoboni has said, because he's an active LGBTQ campaigner outside of wrestling, quote, if folks only knew how Jay supports and puts over all talent, specifically LGBTQ plus talent, as a leader in the locker room, end quote. Apparently, that's the reason they were banned from AEW, TV and pay-per-views because of a Warner Media executive. The ban was lifted following Jay's death in 2023, but apparently he was considered to have completely reformed his views by like 2014 even.
Yeah,
and people like Effie were on. People on Effie like Effie were on board saying like Jay's super supportive and really great. So
he is genuinely like a story of growth and like I
Learning.
don't want to say reform because it's not reform. It's more so just like just growing as a human
Yeah,
being and
absolutely. That's a better way to put it. Yeah.
becoming more accepting of things that maybe like this isn't you, like it's not a lifestyle that you have to live, but it is a lifestyle that other people live,
Yeah.
and it's
It's a
not
fact
like
of life. Yeah.
it's not damaging you or anyone to be able to be that way. Like it's just a way of being,
Yeah.
like it's a natural way of being for people,
And
and
I'll
that's
say
okay.
this part of the growth story for Jay Briscoe has not been nearly as well publicized because I even was like, I'm like, I remember them saying he's changed, but I don't remember seeing anything. But like
Yeah.
donating your salary, going out of your way to donate even more money, like being a locker room leader for LGBTQ competitors, like that shows genuine growth. Like people always say, like, oh, if somebody gets canceled for something, like, have they changed? Jay Briscoe apparently went out of his way to be like, nope,
Yeah.
I'm very different now.
And
And
you
you
can't
love to
even
see it.
say, it's because he's lost so much money. He was trying to fix that. Like the guy never left. He
It's
never
true.
went anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's not like I don't want to say it's because WWE shut the door on them and all this stuff. Like they would have never left Ring of Honor. Regard, I don't think. I think after 2009, like what happened there, I don't think they ever in a million years would have left for WWE. They're
No.
very loyal. They're very prideful guys. Like the AEW is one thing, but also they still had the Ring of Honor gig going. Like Tony Khan was still paying them. It's a
Yeah.
shame they weren't on national TV because it would have been nice to have seen one of the best tag teams of all time there when they were still like able to do it at a super super duper high level, and we'll
Yeah.
talk about that in a little bit. Um, but like those guys, they grew as people, Jay especially, and it's nice to see that he reached the point where um he's not going to be remembered for some dumb comments that he made on Twitter, but rather for the growth that he had because of that and the person that he became
Hmm.
out of that.
So the Briscoes will go back to teaming together more after Jay lost the world title. They win the titles at the ROH 16th anniversary show from the Motor City Machine Guns, and it leads to a big old feud with Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks. We're at Best in the World 2018 for the ROH World Tag Team Championships, and it's the Briscoes versus the Young Bucks. Where do the Bucks rank for you among the all-time rivals for the Briscoes?
They're up there. It's a lot of newer. A lot of it's new. So when I say
Yes,
new, I mean it's like post 2015. Like
because the
it's when the
Bucks
Bucks.
really came into their own in ROH after the Briscoes were done teaming together for a while.
Yeah,
Like they didn't line up until like 2017, 2018.
2016, 17, 18, that range. Like the Bucks were also spending so much time in New Japan. The Bullet Club had become such a big deal. Like
Yeah.
it really, honestly, it wasn't until like Cody came over, and
Yeah.
then like that was or Cody started in Ring of Honor, and that was a big thing. And not that he joined Bullet Club right away, but that's like seeds were planting with that about like
Yeah.
ROH kind of growing again. As a brand, and when the Bullet Club came over and had their US stuff, and the Bucks were really like the faces of that. You had Hangman here to the side. You had Cole came back and rejoined the group, or like joined the group again, because there's the whole PWG like background between him and the Bucks, and like he sort of became the de facto Ring of Honor leader of
Yeah.
Bullet Club, and they were right there with him. Like Bullet Club was the biggest thing in pro
It
wrestling
was
at
the
this point.
biggest fucking deal.
It
I
was.
it was the first thing that I had seen from a non WWE company since returning back to wrestling that I was like,
Yeah.
I gotta look into this.
Yeah, and it was, there were really only a handful of teams who could realistically be at that level with them as competitors, and it was the Addiction, who were, I think, their initial feud, which is Daniels and why am I blanking?
Kazarian.
Kazarian, Kaz. And it was those two, and then it was eventually the Briscoes, and you would see a lot of the Addiction kind of, I don't want to say they go away, but they just become SCU.
Yeah.
And then the Briscoes were just the Briscoes, so it was really just a lot of those three sort of intermingling, and there was a couple of three-way matches for
Yeah.
the titles, all this stuff, but the Bucks would always come out on top, mostly because they're the big act. You want to keep the titles on them. The Briscoes do get the upper hand, but it was so it was like a 2-year feud pretty much between those three teams. You would sprinkle in some people, on the fringes of those, like other tag teams, but it really was just those three guys carrying the or those three
I'm
teams
gonna
carrying
I'm
the
gonna
tag
list you
for
out the
years.
tag champions from May 2016 to December 2018. So from War of the Worlds 2016 to Final Battle 2018.
Which is for those who don't know, the big Super Kick Party pay-per-view where it was this like commentary was like Super Kick Party, like Cole Reed views, all this stuff. That was World of Worlds, I believe, 2016.
So the Addiction, Young Bucks, the Broken Hardys, Young Bucks, Motor City Machine Guns, Briscoes, SoCal, which is just the Addiction plus
Yep.
Scorpio Sky, and then the Briscoes again.
Yeah.
Yeah. This match is really good. I think because I've been on the record as like I didn't understand the Young Bucks for a long time. I like the Young Bucks when they are intense or when they're complete assholes. There's it has to hit one of the two. Either they have to be like not giving a fuck but still really good, or I need them like locked and loaded in. And this
Yeah.
one, they start dialed in. They respect the Briscoes.
They're the heels.
They're doing
too,
the
like,
forehead to forehead. Like they're really into it, and so it leads, I think, to really good in-ring stuff here. And it's just what I prefer for the Young Bucks as characters. This like the silly,
yeah.
goofy in between, I don't love.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like this is also, what is this like? No, this can't be September, right? This is like
Best in the
September.
World 2018. I'll double check what the
This
timeline
has to
is.
be because it's not the end of the year because obviously it's Final Battle. But we're in 2018.
It's June.
Evan.
It's June.
It's June. We're in 2018, Evan. Do you know what happens in 2019?
What happens in 2019, Javier?
We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
First off, the clip starts with Damian Priest beating Hangman Page for I think that's the TV title.
The clip literally opens with the South of Heaven chokeslam. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh, cool. It's like, all
Look
right,
at the Undertaker. Look at him.
We've got the current WWE champion. What do they call that belt again? World Heavyweight Champion?
World Heavyweight Championship, yeah.
Yeah, and former one-time AEW World Champion. Nice.
Yeah. Nice.
Cool. They're just a throwaway thing on the underarm in the middle of the card for a Ring of Honor pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's the anxious cowboy and the bisexual Undertaker. They're just fucking thriving. Which, by the way, every like group of friends now for Gen Zers has an anxious cowboy and a bisexual Undertaker. They all have one.
I don't know enough youths to be able to confirm.
I don't know enough young people.
Yeah, so like I think the youngest person I legitimately not know of, but know is like 22.
I thought you were just gonna drop a name, like I know this young person.
Like he's about to graduate college.
Congratulations to him. This match, this might be, and this is saying something. This might be the weakest of the matches to me. I think it's a personal. I think it's still that I don't like the Young Bucks enough, but.
I can't say. I think it might be the first one.
It's one of these two. I think
it's one of those two, but that's not taking away from this match. This is
it's still very good.
This is like on my personal list. If I were to like rate just this match, I would say like 4.5 stars. Hell of a match.
I'm a little lower, but no, it is a very good match.
Great
what's
match.
What's a spot you love in this match?
First off, before I go into spots, I need to talk about Nick Jackson because Nick Jackson, before the back injury, was one of the fastest people ever. Like he's so fast.
He is
and so
crazy.
springy. Not that he like isn't anymore, but he hurt his back like I think in 2020, 2021 range. And he kind of just lost a step from that. He's still super athletic. He's the springy guy of the Young Bucks. Like he still goes and does all the spots, and it's great. But he doesn't have that burst that he used to, and it's annoying.
Talk about the hot tag then. Talk about the Nick hot tag because that's fucking crazy.
You mean the best hot tag in the business?
It's
oh God, I lost it in my notes. Evan, you talk about the hot tag.
Okay, so for a while they're working over Matt. Matt is unable to get anywhere. Mark accidentally drop kicks Jay when Matt moves. Matt finally is able to tag in as both Briscoes are down the outside. Nick immediately sprints across the ring, step up, flips senton onto the Briscoes at ringside. One smooth motion, quick as hell. It's fantastic.
At one point, right after that, Mark puts a coquina clutch onto Matt.
Yeah.
Jay hits a neck breaker, and Mark goes off the top rope with his little flying chicken elbow drop.
Yeah.
We got a super kick party. It's just what you get when you're the Young Bucks at this
That's what
time
happens.
period. They're
That's what
famous for
happens.
their super kick parties.
Yeah.
Briscoe's counter with clotheslines. Jay hits a Jay Driller to Nick. Matt comes out of nowhere to break the pin.
Yeah. We have the best reversal of a Doomsday device I've seen.
I'll talk about it.
So Doomsday device is being gone for the springboard version, but a cutter, it happens. I don't know. Was it Nick or Matt?
It was Nick.
It was Nick. Hits a cutter to Mark, who's the one diving for the Doomsday device, and it looks disgusting.
So my favorite thing about it is the way that they filmed it, because they cut the camera. So right as he does the springboard, because we've got like a straight on. Ring of Honor has the opposite hard cam, like it's not on the. We see it from the opposite perspective of where we usually see it with AEW and WWE.
Yeah.
So it's on that, and they cut to the side to the hand camera that the production person has at the side angle, and you see from Mark's right side, as he leaps, like as soon as the cut happens, you see Nick's right there. He does a quick springboard, just grabs Mark and hits a cutter.
Mm-hmm. It's really
great.
Good.
It's amazing.
We get a bang for your buck. Mark breaks it up in the best way possible. A top rope elbow drop to referee Paul Turner.
Just completely unnecessary, by the way. He could have just done that to the buck that was in the ring.
Right in the ribs.
Just poor Paul Turner, man.
I accidentally elbow dropped my wife getting into the car the other day.
Sorry?
Yeah. So she was already
breakdown because I don't even know how logistically that's possible.
She's sitting in the front passenger seat. I get in the car. I just like drop into the car and not thinking about it. My arm was just up and I just smoked her in the shoulder.
Here's the thing. I need everyone to understand. I've been in Evan's car.
Yeah.
He's got a Mazda.
Hey,
right? It's not a little car. I knew it started with an M. It's not a small car. Right? And Evan's not like the most gangly human being in the world. Like the limbs, the wingspan's not huge.
No.
So I just don't understand how logistically.
I just like swung myself a little bit and I just elbow dropped
at a certain point, it was on purpose.
Yeah, I turned heel on my wife. Meltzer driver to Jay. Mark breaks it up at 2.7. Meltzer driver being set up on a chair. Mark just fucking throws a chair at Nick.
Just absolutely like
Matt
yeets it.
Matt gets hit with a J driller on a chair but kicks out. Top rope powerbomb neck breaker combo.
Okay, well, you didn't describe it as cool as it actually was. It's a razor's edge.
Yes, it is a fancy powerbomb.
It's a razor's edge, avalanche razor's edge. Or I think Jay's got the razor. No, Mark's got the razor's edge going. Yeah. Jay hits the neck breaker because Jay always gets the neck breaker off. Always. It's always Jay.
They managed to pin the Bucks and retain the tag titles. After the match,
I saw this part.
SCU is here to attack the Bucks.
Yeah.
Or are they?
Ooh.
They attacked the Briscoes instead, those dicks.
Swerve.
Yeah.
And then the Bucks are just like, what the hell?
This is the worst town I've ever been in. All right. We're going to take a break. When we get back, we go to the Delaware Chicken Farm for a promo. Back from the break, we have a promo ahead of a ladder war match by the them boys. And we're at their farm.
Yes. They're about to have a ladder wars match against the Bucks and SCU.
Yes. At Final Battle 2018.
Battle. For those who do not know, we'll talk about it in a second. It's actually part of the last portion of this promo. Jay says that it's been 7 years since they've been in the ladder wars, and I was like, damn.
Yeah.
2011?
They're also sitting in the back of a pickup truck.
Which is so on brand.
Yeah, it's the right place for them. Talking about how since they've been in the ladder war, lots of amazing moments, death-defying moments, great ladder wars. Now
it's young men doing acrobatics.
Now it's 2018 Final Battle, and we don't dance.
No, and them boys are back up in this bitch.
That's true. They are back up in that bitch.
They don't dance. They kill people. They leave them dead.
Mark Briscoe is just a very fun person for me.
Love Mark.
I want just on a loop playing in my brain. We don't dance, people. We kill people. Because that just speaks to me on a level I can't fully explain. Just
that is like the opposite of "I Don't Dance" from the second High School Musical.
yeah, like I'm expecting like all of a sudden they're wearing the Bucks gear and the Bucks are wearing their gear, and it's like you do dance, you both dance. We don't dance, we kill people.
I need Corbin Blue and Lucas Gabriel to just be out there with baseball bats.
An excellent double name drop. I'm proud of you.
Love it. Come on,
they
man.
talk about how the key word here is violence. What we do is violent through and through. People have grace, precision, technicality. We are not like that.
Which is weird because they absolutely
They
are.
are, but that's what they're embodying is the other part of it.
It says that they've seen all the ladder wars since their last one. It's been a lot of acrobatics and feats of human ability, but it's over now. And then Jay's just in the background screaming, "It's wartime!"
It says, we don't give a shit about SCU, and we definitely don't give a shit about the Young Bucks.
They said that they don't want the Briscoes in this match, and that SCU and the Young Bucks don't stand a chance. And then we get to the end of the portion, which kind of talks about what happens next after this match. Jay says that people don't have to worry about what the Young Bucks are doing in 2019. For those who don't know, at the end of 2018, their contracts with Ring of Honor and New Japan expired, and they formed AEW. Because they'll be dead. SCU, they gonna be dead, and we're gonna be standing tall, saying, "Bring it on, motherfuckers! We them boys."
So like they said shit and bitch, and I was like, yeah, sure. And then they dropped a motherfucker at the end. I was like,
No. It wasn't motherfucker.
Sorry.
It was motherfucker.
Yes, there was an A on that. And I was like, oh, I didn't know we could do that. It's cool. Just drop motherfuckers.
It's not like Ring of Honor's on like that's not on cable,
No,
that was probably like a YouTube exclusive.
Ring of Honor in October 2021 announced they were going hiatus after Final Battle. Yeah. And then they were returned scheduled for April 2022. All personnel, including the Briscoes, were released from their contracts, paid in full. They worked for a couple of things. They worked for Game Changer Wrestling. They won the Crockett Cup in 2022. The Briscoes did, which I had totally forgotten about. At Final Battle in December, Briscoes wrestled their final match for ROH at the time, defeating the Kingdom to win the ROH World Tag Team Championships for a 12th time. Then, March 2nd, 2022, the man with more money than anyone needs, Tony Khan, was like, hey, I bought Ring of Honor. All of it. All of the tapes, all of the intellectual property. And so they ended up bringing back the Briscoes. And the Briscoes at Supercard of Honor 15 faced FTR for the ROH World Tag Team Championships, losing the titles in a very well acclaimed match. The Briscoes then faced them again in July at Death Before Dishonor in a 2 out of 3 falls match, with the FTR winning 2-1. Then we get the third of the trilogy. It is our last match, the double dog collar match from Final Battle 2022. It is the Briscoes versus the FTR for the ROH World Tag Team Championships. I forgot at this point, fucking FTR is a triple champion because they had the triple A, they had the IWGP, and they had the ROH tag belts. I was like, that's too much belt.
And they didn't have the ring or the AEW ones because I think they're in the course of feuding. They're in the course of feuding for them with the Guns. I think the Guns had just won them by this point. I'm not entirely sure. Don't quote me on that, people. It's about the same time frame that the Guns win the titles off of the Acclaimed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny how that worked out.
It is.
I'm very excited. I was very excited to watch this match.
Yes.
I love this match. Cash Wheeler, the things that you did to Mark and Jay Briscoe during this match should have you arrested. Not the gun charges, this. Because, my goodness.
Also, Dax, you are not off the hook either.
No.
Neither of you.
Jay Briscoe, my God, the things why did you continuously just wrap a chain around your fist and decide to bludgeon another man with it?
So there's a lot of they're on the outside early. There's lots happening. Let's talk about the pairings though. It's Mark Briscoe and Cash Wheeler are together, and Jay and Dax Harwood are dog collared to each other. The first big thing that I notice is like there's the mark with the senton off the entryway to Cash. That was cool. Dax loses a tooth.
Did you notice that? I didn't even notice that.
Commentary said it, and so I went back and Dax loses a tooth. Like,
sucks.
That sucks. You need your teeth. They're for chomping.
You do. Especially him. He likes to eat.
What was the spot you liked in this match? Which of the car crashes was your favorite car crash?
Mark starts bleeding like right away. And then he starts getting choked by a chair.
Mark bleeds. They all bleed.
Yeah.
Including the referee.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Mark is over here bleeding like Jon Moxley, though. Like, he's bleeding right away.
It's really bad. Well, at one point, Mark is bleeding, and he gets put in like the gory special position.
Yeah.
And Dax is just whipping him with a chain in the stomach, and the amount of blood coming out of Mark's forehead is alarming.
Jay's the one that gets the most color of anyone in this match, but
it takes a little while longer. Mark's is immediate.
Hard way.
Yes, Mark's is immediate.
Mark does some redneck kung fu on the entryway, and then he does a somersault off the stage to Cash.
Yeah, that's that senton I was talking about. Going further deeper in the match, because like just shit keeps happening. It's long. But can we talk about the time that Dax wraps his head in a chain?
Oh, when he couldn't do it?
So Dax Harwood is attempting to do essentially a headbutt off the top rope with chain wrapped around his head so it will hurt more. He can't get the chain to stay on his head, partly because he's bald and it has nothing to grip to.
Also, he's bleeding and he's super sweaty.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's a bad time. He's the slickest he's ever been, and
he kept trying to do it around like the thinnest portion, like the part where
the top.
He was trying to do it here. So all humans, for the most part, I don't want to discriminate my blockheaded people out there. But like for the most part, their heads get smaller as it gets to the point up here.
It's true.
Right? And so why is he doing it here? Do it here, guy. Do it
around the cranium,
around the ears and stuff.
Eventually,
it's not going to slip up.
Eventually, hits it by essentially wrapping it around his face.
Essentially, he just does one loop and holds it in place himself, so he can just go down. He's like, I give up.
It like drops a little bit, and like one part of it's near his eye. I'm like, that's not good.
All right, well, he's not actually connecting on the headbutt here, Evan.
You're telling me wrestling's fake? How fucking dare you?
At one point, they start hanging Mark with the chain.
Yeah.
Hanging him, full on hanging him. And Jay breaks it by whipping Dax into the chain, which I thought was really great.
Which was good. Then we get the headbutt spot. Then we get the ref getting some color. So Jay is getting hit with some chain-assisted punches in the middle of the ring. And on the last one, he pulls the ref in front. And Paul Turner gets some color.
Paul Turner?
Yeah, it's Paul Turner.
No, it's Mike Posey.
Oh, it's Mike Posey? Paul Turner was the referee who took the elbow drop.
Paul Turner's on the outside.
Yeah.
And he's there. But no, you're right. Like, Paul Turner is in this match. He's just the outside referee.
Yeah. So this fucking guy, he has to blade himself for the first time probably in his life. And he decided to hit a home run.
He did it.
He went so deep. It's so red.
It's like it's the reddest I've ever seen blood. Like, it is the reddest of shades of blood. Like, it literally looks like ketchup from a Heinz bottle.
How chill with blading would you be if you were a wrestler?
If I was first off, he's sliced. I'm not slicing. I ain't slicing shit.
No.
I am jabbing.
Yeah, you jab.
My thing is, how chill? What do you mean by chill?
Like, would you be like, I want to bleed in every match like I'm Jon Moxley? Or would you be like, I don't want to bleed, never let me bleed?
You'll get it like once every 4 years.
Okay.
It's not.
Like, you're like, fuck, the moment does call for it. I'll bleed.
Yeah.
Like, they're in the production meeting, like, convincing you, like, I guess, it does make sense.
I feel like I would just know. If the story gets too personal, like, if it's like Hangman Swerve, something like that, like Rollins Edge from a few years back, stuff like that, like, screw it, bam.
See, I really think, like, I have no problem with blood.
Oh, but you're Jon Moxley, brother. You're
doing this real estate.
First off, you're Ric Flair. Remember
all this real estate I'm bleeding
promo where he's just jabbing his freaking forehead repeatedly? You're doing that. That's how you're putting promos backstage.
I have Ric Flair's promo ability, but only when he's losing his mind in like late stage WCW.
No, you have his promo ability when he's cussing out a restaurant on video that was circling on Twitter the other day. I give so much money to this style as you people.
I'm never coming back to Paisanos again. I'm watching that and I'm like, someone come get their grandpa. Like, this is crazy.
He has grandkids, right?
I assume so. Somebody come get this man.
Well, not from Charlotte, obviously.
No, not from Charlotte.
Not from David, I don't think. Does David have a kid?
Back,
his daughter.
Back to the match. There is some absolutely bananas shit happening. So Mark is on the top rope. Cash is laid on the table that was laid outside earlier in the match. He's going to turn and do the Doomsday device with Jay, who's holding up Dax. Cash gets up and whips Mark onto a pile of chairs at ringside.
Forgot about the spot. I had forgotten about the spot.
It's the worst landing of any of the matches.
It's one of the worst spots I've ever seen, as far as like the brutality of it and how tough that landing is. Because it's not like the chairs were open. I feel like if you land on open chairs, like on the seat part of it, it sucks. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's a terrible thing to do.
Yeah.
But it's at least like a level surface that you're falling on. And it's like, all right, cool. Like, your back's probably going to be structurally fine. It's going to hurt. But you're not breaking your back, probably. No. Or like dislodging like discs or whatever because of uneven surfaces. The chairs are closed and just stacked up on each other and like literally piled up on each other. And he gets thrown onto it on a very uneven angle. And honestly, I'm absolutely floored that he didn't, at the worst case, like pop a disc. Like,
he slides too, which is, I know it's not like the impact is the thing that hurts, but he slides on metal chairs.
Caprice thinks he's dead.
Caprice is clearly concerned.
Caprice Coleman is so concerned about Mark Briscoe. He's like, is he dead?
Cash is throwing chairs in the ring at one point, telling Dax to fucking murder Jay. Easily caught on commentary.
This is not that personal, guys.
Chain low blow to Dax in the middle of the rope. Jay with a superplex onto the chair pile. Dax somehow kicks out. Then we go to the finish, and I love the way the finish is structured because it really plays into the dog collar. There's a crossface with the chain along the mouth by Jay onto Dax. Cash is trying to get in the ring, and Mark is just using the chain to just hold him back.
Yeah,
he's just holding him back. And so Dax is not able to hold out the whole time. He's not able to get the help. He passes out.
Yeah.
And so the Briscoes win as Dax is out. You know who comes out after this? You remember? It's the Gun Club. They attack.
They're not the Gun Club yet. They're just the Guns.
They're just guns. They attack the FTR after the match. The Briscoes, I was like, oh, like they fend them off. The Briscoes just come back. They don't fight them at all. The Guns immediately leave. They're like, I am not dealing with Briscoes.
Yeah, I want no parts in that.
And then
whatever's happening there,
the Briscoes hug it out to end. Obviously, the tragedy that comes after this is on January 17th of 2023. Jay Briscoe passed away in a car accident. The Briscoes, of course, they would relinquish the titles after the fact and finish their career as 13-time ROH World Tag Team Champions. Jay is a 2-time World Champion, and then Mark would win his first at Supercard of Honor earlier this year in April of 2024. What did you think going back and watching the career of the Briscoes?
Like, legitimately, just one of the 5, 3, 2, like whatever. It doesn't matter where you put them. Like, they're one of the greatest tag teams of all time, if not the greatest tag team of all time. Like, they never were in WWE. They never were in AW. Like, they had, I think they went to New Japan on like little tiny trips, but it wasn't like huge little runs or whatever like that. Maybe most of them were honestly probably just joint shows more than anything. But like, these guys put on some of the best tag matches ever, period, full stop. Like the dog collar match
is crazy.
It's incredible. It's one of the best. It's probably the match of the year for 2022.
It's my recommendation. My recommendations are the Steen Generico match and the dog collar match.
My recommendation is every single one of these matches.
Yes, every single one is great.
Every single one of them. They're all great. But like, it's just crazy to me. Like, their last match together as a team was a full on war, just classic. If it wasn't for the fact, you know what's really disrespectful is the fact that like a month, 2 months later, like this was the greatest dog collar match of all time for like a year or for like a month. Because then it was, oh wait, no, because it wasn't a dog collar match between Danielson
No.
and MJF. That was an Iron Man match. Screw that. This is the greatest dog collar match of all time.
Yeah.
It's bar none. Like it's this or it's Punk and MJF, and I like this one better, clearly. So it's crazy to me. Like losing Jay sucks because for a multitude of reasons. Obviously, you know, a family lost its father, a brother, you know, guy lost his brother. You know, a whole family was robbed of so many years with this, so many more years with this, you know, person that they love so dearly. The wrestling industry was robbed of so many more years of Jay Briscoe. But more than anything, like, damn, dude, we lost the best tag team, one of the best tag teams ever.
Yeah.
Like that sucks.
It does suck.
And right when they were still like in their, not their prime, but like still giving us prime year-esque performances. It's like watching LeBron over the last like 5 years. Like
it's not LeBron. It's not Heat LeBron anymore, but it's still fucking LeBron.
But it's still LeBron. He can pull it out of his ass every once in a while if he wants to.
The thing I really loved is, of course, my knowledge of the Briscoes was pretty limited. I was not an ROH guy. I've been on record saying that. I just didn't watch it. It was not in my wheelhouse.
It's good, but it wasn't there.
It just wasn't on my radar. That's the better way. It wasn't on my radar. I knew the Briscoes as they appear in the last couple of years with the big beards and the Dem Boys and that whole gimmick. And I'm like, I get
Jay
that gimmick.
with the braids.
Yeah. Seeing them young and just like Mark's speed and Jay's innate abilities. And I'm like, oh, like these are fucking natural athletes who then grew into the characters we knew them as. And that's always fun, is when you see somebody and from the beginning, you're like, you've got everything that's going to make you successful. If you have the drive, if you figure out your character the way you want your character to be, you're going to be great. And the boys, they just were themselves. Yeah. Again, the heightened versions of themselves at all times. And they developed that into this crazy, talented, they were the backbone. I didn't realize how much of the backbone they were, because people are sometimes like, oh, you know, like Edge and Christian were the backbone of the tag division. I'm like, yeah, for like 3 years. Yeah. The Briscoes did it for like 16. That's fucking crazy. This is crazy. And it was all good against everybody.
One.
Yeah. It was
day one to when they shuttered in 2020. Like,
it was
or 21, whatever.
Unbelievable to see.
I love them boys, man.
I'm going to go through and just look every time I see the Briscoes on this list of all the fucking the tag titles. Every time I see the Briscoes, I'm just going to say
13 times. They won it 13 times.
The different people they lost it to. They lost it to the Second City Saints twice in a row. They lost it to
Cole Cabana,
Naruki Doi, and Shingo Takagi. They lost it to Age of the Fall. They vacated it and Age of the Fall got it. They lost it to
like look at the names that you're saying right now. Like CM Punk, Cole Cabana is not here, like there, but like
Punk, Tyler Black,
Seth Rollins,
yeah,
like. Who else was there? Shingo Takagi would eventually, he wasn't that guy 20 years ago, but like he would eventually become a New Japan, you know, an IWGP World Heavyweight Champion.
They lost it to wrestling's greatest tag team, Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas, my fucking guys. They lost it to Red Dragon, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly.
One of the best tag teams of the modern era.
That's true. They would lose it to SoCal Uncensored, SCU.
Another one of the better tag teams of the last 10, 15 years.
They'd lose to Villain Enterprises, Brody King and PCO.
Which, listen, I know what you're thinking. You know, PCO, all this stuff. That team was really good. I loved PCO and Brody King as a tag team.
They lost it to the Foundation, Jay Lethal and Jonathan Gresham. Talented wrestlers.
I never saw them as a team, so I have no comment on that. But Jonathan Gresham's awesome. His current gimmick, where in TNA, where he's wearing a mask and he's like this like beast, is freaking cool.
And then they lost them to FTR. In terms of the dominance, 13-time by far the most amount of reigns.
Not
For
even
any other
close.
for any other team, the highest is 3.
Is it the
In ter-
Egyptian and the Bucks?
It's the Bucks with 3, the Kingdom with 3, and Red Dragon with 3. And then in terms of days, 1,485 days as tag team champions. Not many people are touching that. Nobody. It was great to go back and watch the career of the Briscoes. We recommend everyone go check out the matches. They are in the show notes of the podcast as well as in the description of the YouTube video that you're watching right now. Hey, you should follow us on social media, wherever you want. At Crossbody of Work on Twitter and Instagram. However, he will tell you where to follow him right now.
I'm on the Twitter machine at JMelloSports. Lob the boy follow.
You can follow me too at It's Evan Gomes, ITSEVANGOMES on Twitter. The pod merch is available in the link below in the bio. Wherever you want to grab it, you can grab these nice crew necks, these hoodies, these t-shirts, and these wonderful hats. You could even get yourself a tote bag. Got myself a tote bag. It's a good time.
I love that tote bag.
Make sure you rate and subscribe. Tell a friend who loves our rates to go and listen to this podcast, or somebody who is wondering more about the Briscoes. Also, hit us with the 5-star review or hit the thumbs up on the YouTube video. Next week, do you remember who we got next week?
Glorious.
Yes, next week we look at the career of Bobby Roode, Robert Roode, whatever you want to call him. Bobby Roode, a Canadian treasure. We will be looking at his career next week.
TNA Triple H, baby. Let's go.
That's right. TNA Triple H is here to play. TNA Ric Flair, baby. All right. It's time for everyone's favorite part of the podcast. Javier, any final words for the people?
This week on Life Advice with Javier. So you people wouldn't have noticed because our upload schedule pretty much stayed the same. I went to Italy for a little over a week.
This man went to Italy for a whole last week.
And it was great. I had a great time. But I do have some advice for the people out there. Should you want to travel to Italy or honestly any other international country that, one, you don't know anything, you don't know the language, you don't really know what's going on. 2, the currency ain't the same. And 3, it's probably like highly populated with other tourists.
Yeah.
The first thing is if you can get like tours and guides and stuff, do it. Do not if you're going to go to the Coliseum, get a tour. If you want to wait in that line for 2 hours, by any means, go ahead and do it. But if you just book a tour, spend like it's like $40 bucks or whatever.
I spend a little more cash.
You skip not skip the line, but you get in you're in within like 15-20 minutes. And you have a tour guide who tells you everything. It's cool. I did a wine tour, a little wine tasting tour over in Tuscany. It was great. I highly recommend that as well. Stuff like that. Just do it. I believe me, it adds a lot to your trip. 2, I found this out way too late in the game. There are ATMs all over, obviously, as you do, because you got to change your money to euros, and you're able to do that. A tip that one of my tour guides actually told me is when you go and you see an ATM, if it says ATM, don't go to it. The fees are insane on those.
Okay.
If you see one that's by the proper banking system that's over there, and it'll have an Italian word for I guess ATM.
Yeah.
Go to that one because they don't fuck you over with fees and stuff like that. It's reasonable.
Yeah.
You'll get maybe €1 or 2 taken out of your amount rather than basically you're trying to take out $40 and you end up spending $65. Yeah. Situations like that. Also have euros, physical euros handy. It's really
unlike
important.
me coming to fucking America where everything was cash or card only, even though I got all that American money.
Yeah, I could have told you that in advance if you just asked.
I'm an old man. I thought everything was done by cash.
Then the worst part is what you did you have transaction fees on all that stuff?
No.
All right, cool. It's also get a card that doesn't have foreign transaction fees. Very important. Very, very important. And the third thing that I would recommend to all the people, the flights there are crazy long. If you can somehow splurge a little bit on seats that have legroom, do it. Unless you're little. If you're tiny,
don't have legs. Well, I mean, I've got legs. They're just not very long.
You're good. But for me personally, on the way back, I flew in an emergency row seat, and I paid for the flights with points from my credit card, so it was fine. I didn't actually spend real money. So it was like it was worth it for me, very worth it. International flights are annoying, but they give you food, and I don't know, it kind of flies by if you're reading. So read on your flights.
Flies by. Look at you. Also, everyone ignore my advice of don't have legs. Just have little legs.
Don't listen to that either.
Lieutenant Dan, you got new legs. All right. We are back next week to talk about Bobby Roode. We're going to have a really good time. It's going to be wonderful. You thought I was going to say the other word.
No.
All right. We will talk to you next week.
Reach for the sky, boy.